Failure of the liberal elites. Now, tonight, we will expose the left's misinformation campaign on everything from vaccines to COVID-19 testing, treatments, therapeutics. But we begin with the misinformation surrounding the Democrats' favorite and basically only topic of conversation, and that is January 6, 2021. Now, for the past year, if you turn on fake news CNN or MSDNC, it's pretty much all that they talk about. Obviously, they can't talk about Joe Biden's successful programs because there are none. Also, of course, for them, it's not about the lawlessness, the violence on January 6th that we frequently condemn, that we condemned live on radio on the 6th and on this TV show that night. Remember, they all but endorsed the fiery but mostly peaceful protests, anti-Trump riots in the summer of 2020. Dozens of dead Americans, thousands of police officers injured, billions in property damage, arson and looting. And sadly for the left, it's not even really about protecting the Capitol, and it should be. And the lawmakers, by the way, that work inside. This should not be political. Their outrage is, though, political. It's about purging Donald Trump from American politics forever. That's it. Liz Cheney even said Trump could never, ever get near the White House ever again. Wow, that would be a predetermined outcome. The American people, they will decide that question. But now this is why the January 6th committee is ignoring President Trump's decision. We now know, and it has been confirmed and corroborated by numerous sources right here on this show, that Donald Trump authorized up to 20,000 National Guard soldiers to protect the Capitol. He authorized this 2 days before January 6th. Now, why would he authorize that? Everybody knew a massive demonstration was planned. Everybody knew tensions were running high in the country. And given what happened over the summer, 574 riots and all these people dead and all these cops hurt, everyone knew that any large protest would be vulnerable to bad actors. We saw what had just happened in the summer of 2020. Now, after President Trump approved up to 20,000 National Guard troops, the chain of command works this way. It then became the responsibility of both Nancy Pelosi and the Washington, D.C. mayor, that's Mayor Muriel Bowser, to approve the president's requests. We now know they blocked the National Guard assistance on multiple occasions. They refused to even call up the Guard after the Capitol Police Chief literally was begging for the National Guard on at least 6 separate occasions that we've chronicled. So the question tonight is, why? Why not approve the extra security that the president allocated for? Why choose to leave lawmakers vulnerable with such a massive crowd that they knew would be going to the Capitol? And now we know that, sadly, the January 6th committee is totally uninterested in finding an answer to that question. In fact, according to the January 6th committee chair, Nancy Pelosi is off limits. She's the one that said no to the National Guard. Is that not important for those of us that want to have a secure institution? That's the people's house. That's where our elected officials live. We need to protect them. But Nancy Pelosi, who said no to the Guard, is off limits? Take a listen to the chairman.
Lots of questions, but as you know, the Speaker, she made a major decision. Are Speaker Pelosi's decisions on and ahead of January 6th? Do you believe that would also be fair game for Republicans if they join this committee to investigate?
Well, no, I don't, Wolf.
No, I don't, Wolf. Nancy's not fair game. Really? Now, Friday, Liz Cheney tried to tell us that nothing was off limits. But, of course, Cheney is powerless in this committee, even though she's vice chair. In fact, she's being used, frankly, as a pawn by the very same people, as I've been reminding her, accused her father of being an evil war criminal. He wasn't. A murderer. He wasn't. A crook, of which he wasn't. The same people that unfairly went after his chief of staff, Scooter Libby, who didn't deserve what he got. And Donald Trump pardoned him. And look at this. Look at the makeup of this committee. It includes Adam Schiff, a congenital liar, a constant fixture of every anti-Trump committee, the same conspiracy theorist liar who never accepted the results of the 2016 election, referring to Trump repeatedly as an illegitimate president, all while lying about ample evidence of Russia collusion. The same Democrat who defended Hillary Clinton's dirty Russian dossier and still does well after it was completely debunked. He is the single biggest purveyor of election fraud and lies in the history of this republic, and they're trying to tie, well, Donald Trump's discussion and everybody that had questions about the integrity of the 2020 election are what about him? Why is he on the committee? Meanwhile, Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio, Jim Banks of Indiana, they were booted from the committee by Nancy Pelosi. Now ask yourself why. Because they would ask the serious questions. Nancy Pelosi, Mayor Bowser, they would have been held accountable. Well, that can't happen. This committee needs to subpoena Nancy Pelosi, if they're serious, Mayor Bowser, the Sergeant-at-Arms, the Capitol Hill Police Chief. They need to demand all their emails, texts, phone records of all of these people if they care about solving the problem and making our Capitol safe and secure and protecting our elected officials. That's what I want them to do. This committee is not about getting to the truth, unfortunately. Nancy Pelosi is off limits, according to the chairman, and safeguarding our lawmakers at the Capitol, well, it should be a top priority. Instead, it's all about smearing Trump and his supporters. Are you or have you ever been a Donald Trump supporter? Anyone focused on securing the Capitol would look into additional fencing barriers. I would suggest that. Other security measures need to be put in place. Anyone actually interested in the truth and what went wrong would subpoena everyone responsible for bringing in the proper amount of security based on the conditions. Instead, they are demanding testimony from, Steve Bannon, Congressman Jim Jordan, who had no role in securing the Capitol. Jim Jordan noted in a letter to the January 6th committee and the chair, quote, I am aware of no effort by the Select Committee to solicit testimony from Speaker Pelosi, House Administration Chair Zoe Lofgren, or any other Democratic members with responsibility for an oversight of the security posture at the Capitol complex on January 6th. So the double standard confirms our suspicion that Democrats are now using this Select Committee as a partisan weapon against their political adversaries and not to advance any legitimate legislative purpose. Just another day in the Democratic-controlled House of Representatives led by, lifelong politician who is well past her prime. And, every member on the committee voted to impeach Trump. That tells you all you need to know. Now, Republicans should do their own investigation, and they should subpoena the emails. When they get the time to do it, I hope they do. On Saturday, Nancy Pelosi almost pulled a full Joe Biden as she stumbled off the stage. On Sunday, during an interview, well, let me put it nicely, she looked completely out of touch and claimed that opposition to a radical agenda is the legislative continuation of January 6th. Take a look.
There's nothing more important for us to do than protect our Constitution and our democracy. What the Republicans are doing across the country is really a legislative continuation of what they did on January 6th, which is to undermine our democracy, to undermine the integrity of our elections, to undermine the voting power, which is the essence of a democracy.
Pelosi specifically referring to the Democrats' so-called voting rights legislation that would unconstitutionally federalize every election. It would end voter ID. It would make it easier for voter fraud. Go back to the Carter-Baker commission after what happened in the year 2000. But anyway, just as Democrats in New York City, they have now made it legal in New York City for illegal immigrants to now vote in municipal elections.